So, George Pickens wasn't the happiest wide receiver in the world this past Thursday night. And that's despite his team coming back to win and his teammate Diontae Johnson getting his first touchdown in over a year. He went to the bench and, after a thorough investigation by the body language police, it was confirmed. He was pretty upset with how the game played out for him. On 5 targets, he recorded just 2 receptions for -1 yard. For a guy who, and I think rightfully so, views himself as on track to be one of the biggest offensive threats in the league, this isn't exactly a stat line you'd hang on your fridge. And then he took to social media and did the thing that both professional athletes and high schoolers love to do when they get upset. Unfollow everybody involved on Instagram and post a not so cryptic message to their story. For Pickens, he went with a tried and true "free me." He did end up walking it back, and not long after, he laughed at all of us, crying emojis and all, and said that we're all reading way too much into a picture, blah blah blah. But, I mean, he still posted it. He still unfollowed the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, and Mike Tomlin, and removed pictures that associated him with the team. So, I don't know, I'm pretty sure he got the attention he wanted, but probably not the attention that his agent or the rest of the team was thrilled about. And for what it's worth, Tomlin didn't shy away from addressing the situation. It made me laugh when someone asked him if Pickens had voiced his frustration, and Tomlin was like, yeah, he voices his frustration literally all the time. And I'm right with Tomlin when he says he doesn't really think it's a big deal when a budding receiver wants the ball and wants to be a focal point of the offense. He knows he's good, and he wants to show off what he can do to help win games. But it still had me wondering how much of a case Pickens had for reacting the way he did. Why is he so pissed? Why does he want to be set free? Does he have legitimate gripes, or is he just playing out the archetype of talented diva wide receiver? Small disclaimer, this could be a chicken or the egg thing with a pretty unimaginative offense under OC Matt Canada, which has been under scrutiny for most of the year. Brett Coleman recently released a great video breaking that down, which you should definitely check out if you haven't already, after watching this video. Now that that's out of the way, let's dive into what's happening in the numbers and on the field. There were a couple plays that got highlighted on Thursday night around the connection between Pickett and Pickens, and I wanted to start with the miss on the drag route late in the first quarter. Pickett just sails this one on Pickens, who is getting open, and the broadcast rightly mentioned that if Pickett just hits his guy in stride, this goes for another 10 to 15 yards easy. And this would absolutely be frustrating for Pickens, even if it was just a one-time occurrence, but it's not just a one-time thing. Pickett has been one of the least accurate quarterbacks in the league, ranking 29th in completion percentage at 61.3. And just like this ball against the Titans, it's been even worse in the first halves of games, where his splits between the early part of the game and the later part are night and day, going from 54.4% completion rate to 69.5%. All too often, it seems that Pickett has to airmail a few balls for 2 quarters before he can start hitting guys in the hands after the break. So yeah, it's easy to point at the fact that Pickens has been the most targeted receiver on the Steelers, and one of the more highly targeted receivers in the league generally, and say he's getting frustrated for no reason. But I think it's fair to say that his 51.7% catch rate is probably as much or more to do with Pickett as it does with him. Not all targets are created equally, especially not when they sail over you. With that being said, there is a real connection between Pickett and Pickens, beyond just how similar their names are and how hard it is for me to type the right one as I write this script. And you probably already know the passes I'm talking about, the over-the-back, shoulder sideline snags that Pickens has become known for. It's the reason why Pickett has straight up said when he sees Pickens in a one-on-one, he already knows where the ball is going. They trust each other on these and have developed a chemistry quickly. But one thing I hadn't noticed until looking at Pickens' receiving chart was that basically all these throws happen exclusively on the left side of the field. And again, this could just be a function of the Matt Canada offense, but this seems to be the same side of the field that Pickett is more comfortable in throwing between 10 to 20 yards downfield. At least to Pickens. Compare this to Diontae Johnson's receiving chart, and we see that Johnson has been one of Pickett's favorite targets on that side of the field. He's caught 5 of Pickett's 8 completions to this area, and remember, Johnson has only played in 5 of the Steelers' 8 games. As I watched more film, it seemed that Johnson had more command of a variety of routes, and while Pickett and Pickens are undeniably soulmates on the back shoulder fades, Pickett and Johnson have a much better connection on finding open spaces within the defense. Whether it's on an out route to this side of the field, like here against the Los Angeles Rams, or when it comes to finding soft spots in zone defenses or leveraging his gravity to move individual defenders away from him. With the Pickens connection in similar situations, I saw a few instances that seemed like it was his fault and a few that seemed like it was Pickett's. Here's one route where Pickens seemingly sits in the spot of the zone where the defender already is, and even though Pickett does appear to be looking his way and want to get the ball to him, he can't really do it safely. You'd rather have Pickens use his speed to get past the linebacker and force him into no man's land. But there are also times where Pickett doesn't always throw the ball where it needs to go. Like on this one where Pickens wants to sit in a soft spot of the zone and puts on the brakes so he doesn't get smashed by the DB coming over the middle of the field for a catch, but Pickett still throws it just a little too far out in front of him. No doubt, Pickens could have still caught this, but the way he runs this makes me think there was a slight miscommunication. So, I think some of these misses are on both guys, and probably a bit of Matt Canada mixed in there too. If I'm Tomlin, I can see they're making good decisions, just not always at the same time. But I'm also not totally concerned because they've developed a great chemistry on some of the much harder passes and catches. It's this connection that's helped Pickens land 6th in yards per reception at 17.4. Still, he should understand that Johnson is the more accomplished receiver who is more consistent on down-to-down passes right now. He's a former Pro Bowler with 3 more seasons under his belt and has experienced postseason football. He was also the one that actually caught the touchdown pass on Thursday Night Football, while Pickens snagged one off to the right side but couldn't get both feet down, even though he had plenty of room to drag a toe. Even so, there's more ways Pickens can be involved. One way can be in the blocking game, where I was actually surprised to see how engaged he can be here just because of my bias and how I think of big personality wide receivers. And there could be a nasty 1-2 punch for the Steelers if they get Johnson going across the field and have Pickens waiting on the other side to clock the guy chasing him. Even though he gets flagged for a blindside block on this play, it got me excited for what Pickens could do to help open up some of these plays cutting across the field. He's a big body that can lay some punishment on smaller DBs matched up on smaller receivers. Right now, it seems like he needs to be getting the ball to stay focused on his blocking responsibilities. You'd hope that eventually he can feel like his potential ability in this aspect of the game can be how he remains a focal point of the offense, even if it means he isn't getting the yardage himself. Beyond blocking, I was also surprised to see such few slant routes run for him. It could have just been the games I reviewed, but I only really caught 3 instances of him running this. 2 were against the LA Rams, and one of these in particular was when he was just toying with Ahkello Witherspoon all game long. After torching him on a few of these back shoulder sideline plays on the left side, Witherspoon lined up with outside leverage. Immediately a bad decision, as Pickens uses this against him and cuts inside for an easy catch and run. The other came against the Titans, where Pickens gets a lot of contact and can't come down with the ball. I didn't see Pittsburgh go back to this type of play throughout the rest of the night. And lastly, it also seems strange to me that there aren't more jet sweep motions being ran for Pickens. Whether it's just to get him going with some speed when he hits the start of his route, or to just get him the ball automatically and try and give him some space to work with. Throughout his 2 years in the league, he's recorded only 3 rushes total. And I think this could be a bigger part of his game, both in how it would affect his ability to get open for passes like what Miami does with Tyreek Hill, and how it would get him a few automatic touches beyond just screens. Overall, I think Pickens is an insanely talented receiver with loads of potential to get even better. I don't think there's anything wrong with a fiery personality, one that's frustrated when he doesn't get the ball, but I do think he needs to keep these emotions in check to not create rifts between him and his team. There are legitimate reasons for him to be frustrated. Pickett needs to be more consistent, and the offense needs to be more creative in how they utilize all that he offers. But he also needs to get better at being an option on passes that aren't home runs, and stay engaged throughout a game to continue shining in some of the less glamorous parts of the game. I'm not in the locker room, and I don't know what really goes on, but from the outside looking in, I'd imagine it's harder to build chemistry with your quarterback when you're pissed he's not getting you the ball in a game that you win. After all, it's building his connection with Pickett and being available for the offense in different ways regardless of his stat line that will be how he goes from good to great. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy it, and consider subscribing to Football Doesn't Matter so you can catch the next one. Thanks. Bye.